Yeah, I dropped out. No. I did only 6 months of university.
6 months?
6
Oh my
months.
God.
6 months because I went to business school, and I realized that the curricula was full of bullshit. Full. Because I was doing businesses, I was super interested in this field. I was not involved in politics because politics it's a thing that bores me, really. I do not like politics.
Okay.
But I like campaigning, I like a lot campaigning. Basically, from my perspective, what entrepreneurship means is the craft of taking risks in order to build something from nothing. This is from my perspective, how I see it. The ultimate fail in business is when a business goes bankrupt, But no business can go bankrupt if the entrepreneur still has energy to move it forward. With entrepreneurship, it changes the way you operate in reality. Really, I mean, it's very hard to go back. Once you've done this, once you go through this process, you will never go back. This is the biggest shift in technology. People realize that they can do things better by correctly using technology.
Hello, Recursive community. We're here in Bucharest with our next guest. What is special about him that he discovered entrepreneurship already when he was a teenager. Since then, he has been running multiple successful businesses. While he was still in university, he founded Trencadis, a company developing IT solutions for governmental institutions and businesses. Trencadis was recognized as one of the fastest growing companies in Central Europe by Deloitte. And during the pandemic, Radu appointed a seasoned manager to step in the CEO position while he was jumpstarting his next venture. His company, Sessions, was founded on the verge of the transition toward remote and hybrid work. Sessions' mission is to solve problem of unproductive meetings, we all know them, and help teams communicate more effectively. Radu Negulescu, welcome to the Recursive podcast.
Thanks a lot for having me.
It's actually a real pleasure to have someone who has been, in entrepreneurship for so long. We were talking, yesterday, and I was asking, but that's not your first venture, right?
Yeah.
And then I was doing the research for the interview, and I was very impressed that you actually had a first kind of project venture at the age
Basically
of 13?
At 35, I have over 20 years of experience in that.
Entrepreneurship.
Exactly. I'm feeling kind of old.
I wouldn't, Yeah. I'm also 35. Let's not talk about being old. It's a difficult topic, but tell me about the first venture. What was it?
Before everything, I think that I was always having a entrepreneurial mindset. Even as a very small kid, I always invented games. I always invented things, And that 13, I started my first lucrative business from a financial perspective because my parents had a very strong, they didn't give me money,
No.
They didn't give me any kind of money, and I needed to, to socialize with kids, etc. And basically, reality forced me to start finding a solution. And at 13, I organized a internet cafe in my school where I was learning,
Nice.
And it was a pretty successful start. The internet cafe worked over the summer, and I did a lot of money for a young kid, at that age. And from there, everything started.
It was usually also the place where the computer gamers would gather. And
of course. We played all summer and make money,
Yes. Amazing. And at the age of 16, you founded the next company.
After this experience with the internet cafe, I did a lot of things. Although kind of taboo, at this moment, I basically made a business of multiplying CDs, that was something that I think everybody knows about it. After the internet cafe, after that I did a lot of, I started doing graphical design, I started doing websites, I sold hamsters at some point, you know.
Hamsters.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
cool.
But it was not, the market was too small.
It wasn't ready for
Yeah,
that.
it wasn't ready for that. And I kind of, I was super interested in the internet. It was still at the beginning, in the beginning of the 2000. I was pretty good at building websites, and I started having clients. You know, there weren't a lot of people in my hometown back then doing websites. You know, so I've started having customers, and they told me, Radu, look, you are very nice. We like to work with you, but we need to invoice you need to invoice us, you know. And basically I started my first company. It was illegal for me to start it, so I used basically two of my friends that were over 18
to register it.
Yeah, to register it. I had some employees.
You had employees
Yeah,
as well?
of course.
Wow.
Of course. From day one.
Wow.
Yeah, it was super interesting.
What about school?
I could say that I was not a very good student at all, actually. But you know, I think these days entrepreneurship it's much more spreaded. You know, I mean it's something that it's much more accessible. At that point, I was, and I think with another guy, we were two people in the whole, I don't know, hometown that were teenagers doing business, you know. And we are kind of famous for this. So I leveraged a lot this in my school. The deputy principal of my high school was my customer, you know. So yeah, I wasn't an excellent student. I liked school, you know, but I wasn't a good learner, to say it. I was much more passionate about entrepreneurship.
How did you call yourself back then? Because I guess, you know, startup came later on, entrepreneur. Did you saw yourself professionally as an entrepreneur, or what were you?
Not really. Even today, you know, I'm passionate about building stuff. I'm not. Although I was reading a lot about very successful stories, I was admiring Steve Jobs, Bill Gates, a lot of people, you know, that was the topics in which I was interested, tech companies, not only tech companies, I was interested basically in the history of entrepreneurship since entrepreneurship was invented, you know, these were my passions in high school. Considering that I was doing websites and for me it was pretty easy to do it, I didn't consider myself an entrepreneur actually. But I was aspiring to.
You were aspiring. Yeah. You were a builder.
Yeah, I was a builder.
You were a builder.
Yeah.
Do you think that entrepreneurship is a skill set that you're rather born with, or
no?
Okay.
You know, from my perspective, entrepreneurship it's not science nor art. You know, I see it I see it as a craft. You know, as a craft of the mind. As a craft in which, basically, from my perspective, what entrepreneurship means is the craft of taking risks in order to build something from nothing. This is from my perspective, you know how I see it. You cannot learn this from books. You cannot be talented on this, you know, because it's something very abstract, and our brain is not wired to work with risks. You know, it's something that you need to learn by having your skin deeply involved in the game. This is the only way you can learn entrepreneurship. But I think anybody can do this, you know, anybody can do this. I'm almost confident.
I remember when I was 27, I decided that I'm going to found a company. And I was super scared, you know, leaving my job and, you know, going into something which was very insecure. It's not typical in my family at all. My parents are very good employees, but, you know, founding a company. So at some point I decided I'm going to talk to someone who already did it. And I was sharing about this, you know, anxiety. And he said, wait a second. So let's bring it to the bottom. What is your biggest fear? What is the worst thing that can happen to you if you fail? And I was like, well, I'm not going to be able to pay my rent and I will be somewhere on the street and then you would come to my couch. I mean, it's not that bad. Like, actually, when you think about it, I can take that risk. So I have another question, because I'm a female entrepreneur and often women are not seen as, entrepreneurs who would be ready to embrace risk. Actually, probably also scientifically or sociologically, we can prove that women are not prone to risk. What would be the best advice from you to a woman, to develop this kind of
I don't know if
ability?
I'm super qualified to answer this question, but I think this is universal. As you were saying, by doing it, by realizing that, the reality is that this kind of risks are totally virtual. Basically, nothing can. You cannot die by doing business. It's improbable. So I don't know if I have a specific advice for women, but for sure I have a specific advice for everybody. Just do it, because nothing super bad can happen. Worst case scenario, you learn lessons. Sometimes are painful, very painful, but.
And you can always go back to the paid job. True.
Yeah.
I was waitress in the beginning in Bulgaria, and then later on when I moved to Vienna for years, 6 or 7 years, I was actually a waitress. It was never my career, but it was my means to earn money. And then I thought, okay, even if I fail, I can always be a waitress. I can always earn money.
Yeah, and the idea is that entrepreneurship, it changes the way you operate in reality. Really, it's very hard to go back. Once you've done this, once you go through this process, you will never go back. You will start something else. Because it changes how you see risks, how you see uncertainty. You will learn a lot by doing it. So I don't think that. Of course, we have endless options to go back to something safe. But I don't think that people that really want to experience this, because again, entrepreneurship is not only a craft; it's a lifestyle. You cannot go back. I think it's irreversible. Once you take it on this path, there is no
going back.
No.
I like it. It's irreversible. Although you weren't that good student, you still continued university, so obviously education.
I dropped out.
Yeah, you dropped out?
Yeah, I dropped out. No. I did only 6 months of university.
6 months?
6
oh my
months.
God.
6 months because I went to business school, and I realized that the curricula was full of bullshit. Full. Because I was doing businesses, I was super interested in this field.
Okay.
Interested in this field, and I realized super fast that it is a waste of time.
Okay. And how are you educating yourself in the business craft? Because there are also practicalities,
Yeah, by experience, by facing things. I was always, I was a good delegator since day one. I always knew that I have to hire people that are better than me on specific fields. I've done this since I was 16, I think this is the secret. As an entrepreneur, you cannot be specialized. You cannot be specific. You need to be a generalist, You have to know you have to be literate in a lot of domains, but you don't have to be an expert, and you have to hire experts. And this is something that I knew I understood from super early, very early I understood this. And I always, and the idea is that once you are doing this and you are facing specific problems, it's super easy to learn at that moment how to solve that specific startup. If you have a finance problem, you understand that it's a fire, you start talking with finance people or doing research online, etc. I don't think it's very, and I'm super open about this. I don't think that business school learns you how to be an entrepreneur. it learns you how to be an executive, maybe, but not an entrepreneur. Entrepreneurship, from my perspective, is learnable only by interacting with the market, with the reality. I'm pretty. I totally believe this.
Well, I think you have also enough experience to say that. I think it was Stephen Covey who was developing the thesis that the A students at school, they become really, really good really good employees, and those who are bad at school are actually those who become later on entrepreneurs, because they used to taking risk already from the very beginning. Not to.
And it's another thing. It's the way how I never, I don't know if this is a general thing, but my brain has an incapacity of learning things without context. I cannot. I want to study, I don't know, quantum trading or whatever. I cannot studying if I'm not practicing it. I don't understand it. I need to experience, try to see the mechanism, and after that study it, and after that I'm learning how to do it. Does it make sense?
It totally makes sense. Yeah, hands-on learning is much more effective. I totally believe that. It's the same, by the way, with journalism. You cannot become a good journalist just by, reading theoretical studies about communication. You have to write. Whoa, okay. And it was at that moment that you found Trencadis?
Basically, I had that company when I was 16. When I was at the point to take ownership of that company, my friends disappeared. Disappeared with the money, with the company, with everything, really. And I was forced to start another thing. That was my first big failure. In humans, I realized that it's a tricky thing, and I had to start it again. And that's when I started Trencadis. After I've lost my first company, I started Trencadis. Back then it was called Loading Media. We were still doing websites. So basically I continued what I started when I was a teenager, still being a teenager.
Yeah, still being a teenager.
Yeah.
And you still managed to develop it into one of the fastest growing companies, recognized by Deloitte and also Financial Times. You couldn't have done it without a good team, but the experience from before where, some people betrayed you, wasn't
it was super relevant. No, nothing.
How did it affect your further partnerships?
I learned the power of contracts, They're very young, I understood the importance of the legal side.
So it's good to have friendships, but it's better to have contracts, I guess.
It's always.
Okay.
No, I think that, and this is one of the failures I had. I don't know. I think I have a failure every week, a big failure every 3 months. So I'm used to this, and I don't have. I mean, for me, I was super motivated to start again. Okay, I lost it. I tried to take the company. It didn't work. I started a new one.
I have another philosophical question about entrepreneurship. So sometimes we are very optimistic about the future and we might ignore risks. And there are other people which are a bit more like me, who always, think of the things that can go wrong, and then I start preparing for them. Which mindset is better in entrepreneurship? Because you started
a mix between
very green, actually.
I think a mix between both. Yeah. I think there is a saying, I don't remember it. Dream for the best, prepare for the worst, or something like this. Hope for the best.
Hope for the best, prepare for the worst. Okay.
This is it. I think this is the way to do it. But you have to be optimistic. That's the fuel.
When you started Trencadis, you only had, I guess, the opportunity to grow it organically. There was no venture capital. There were no investors.
No.
Okay. Is there something that you would have done differently?
Oh, a lot of things. But again, it's very good that I've done them how I've done them. You know, I mean, I'm super okay with all the decisions I've made. Every mistake basically was a lesson for me. It was my school. This is how I learned. You know, by doing a lot of mistakes. Yeah, a lot of things. And I started Trencadis in 2007. You know, that's when the economic crisis started. Everybody was running. You know, everybody was mad. Everybody was and it was hard.
And why did you think that this thing is going to work? I mean, at the beginning of a crisis.
Because look, I believe that if you know, the ultimate fail in business, it's when a business goes bankrupt, you know. But no business can go bankrupt if the entrepreneur still has energy to move it forward, you know. It's and this is also a thing that I'm 100% confident in. If the companies are dying when entrepreneurs are not having energy or drive to push them forward, you know, and I'm totally confident about this. You can always find solutions, you know.
Okay.
And basically we did at that moment, we did a lot of sales. It was super hard, you know, super hard, but it worked out. Is
there the option also that you get too attached to your business, that you don't let it fall at the right moment?
Oh, yeah. It's a problem sometimes, you know.
How did you know that you're still on the healthy side and you're pushing
I never
it?
knew this.
You never knew this?
No.
Okay.
No. Today, you know, I'm thinking that in some points maybe it was safer to not to quit, because as again, I don't know. I mean, even if by chance everything that I'm doing today disappears, you know, tomorrow I'll be an entrepreneur. I mean, I don't know what to do else, you know. Yeah.
Well, you can be a venture capitalist probably.
No, if I find it boring.
That's good.
Yeah,
okay.
I find it boring. At this moment, you know, maybe after 70 years, you know, I don't know, when I be very old, I could do this. But.
Nice. So you developed it. How many people was Trencadis at the point when you stepped down as a CEO?
100.
100 people?
Yeah.
In how many locations?
We had offices, three offices in Romania, one office in Africa, so we were pretty big.
Wow. And the customers from how many countries probably?
Mainly Romania, but we also have customers in Africa. We also have customers in Eastern Europe. Mainly, you know, but mainly in Romania. Mainly in Romania.
I think e-government always hard. I mean,
it's super hard, but
because the sales cycle is...
It's super complicated. This is one of the reasons why I've got... I realized that I'm much... I like speed, you know? I like speed, I like scale.
Oh, you chose the best vertical.
Yeah, right now, you know?
Yeah, right now, yes.
With the government, no. Although I've got in love with the problem. This was one of my mistakes, you know? Because I find... e-government is an amazing field, you know. I have a super strong belief that through digitalization, the relationship between citizens and states have to be frictionless, you know.
Yes.
And I think that this is the future. 100 years from now, citizens from all over the world will not interact with the state physically, you know. Everything will happen automatically. And I wanted to be part of this vision, you know, to be part of this transformation. I had a super huge vision about Trencadis. I've dreamt about building a very strong company in Romania, scaling it to the region, because the entire region is very bad from a e-government perspective. But things were moving too slow. And at some point I realized that I want to do something much more... because also, as I was saying, e-government is super relevant, and I think at some point, maybe, I don't know, 20 years from now, I will do again some things in that area. but I needed something much more dynamic.
I guess in e-government you also have to pretty much understand the political system.
The political system, the structure of the political system, the structure of the government, the administrative system. This is something very complex, you know, very, very complex.
But I have to say, I was still very surprised when I was doing my research that you have worked in the campaign of Klaus Iohannis, the current president. Usually entrepreneurs in our region, they try to stay away from politics, or at least it was like that till now.
I was not involved in politics because politics, it's a thing that bores me, really. I do not like politics.
Okay.
But I like campaigning, you know, I like a lot campaigning. I like, you know,
What do you like about it?
It's super exciting, you know, you have the capability or the possibility to I was at that moment it was a very special context in Romania, and I was seeing in Mr. Iohannis a new start for Romania, you know, and I was considering that the stakes were very high, you know.
Yes.
I considered that my skills could be very helpful in helping him to achieve that position. I pitched him, you know. I was the youngest. He organized a contest, you know, a pitch contest, talking with different providers. I was the most inexperienced, you know, but I have a very strong vision. I had a very well-articulated tactic, you know. It was the beginning of social media.
Yes.
All the political consultants were, and many of them they still don't understand the landscape.
And you were inspired by Obama's campaign?
By Obama. And I knew if we play this, we'll win it. Although at the beginning of the campaign, he had 0 chances, you know. He was, really. It was a huge success,
Why did you believe in him?
Because I'm from Sibiu. I was born in Sibiu. Yes. He was mayor of Sibiu. I know what he did for that city. He literally transformed the city, you know. And I totally believe in him, you know. I told him that I still remember, you know, when he told me that, look, Radu, I want to understand why do you want to work with me. And I told him, Mr. Iohannis, I think that you have the potential of being the first, I don't know how it's say in English, man of state, you know. It's somebody that puts the interest of the state before his person. And I was really believing that he could be this guy, you know, and for Romania this was very important. So yeah, for me it was a lot of reasons. It's one of my, basically, I could say it's one of my favorite projects in my career.
Do you believe that we entrepreneurs bear certain responsibility for improving our societies?
Of course.
Also in this sense?
Yeah, totally. Okay. I mean, you know, also entrepreneurship is not about money. You know, this is trading, it's about money. Business, it's about money. Entrepreneurship is not about money. Entrepreneurship, it's about building things. This is entrepreneurship. So you could be a social entrepreneur, you can be even political entrepreneur. There are politicians that have an entrepreneurial mindset and that they do super big impact on their ecosystems. But yeah, entrepreneurs have, and by default, I think that true entrepreneurs are creating positive change in society. This is also a very strong belief. People that are starting, you know, this is a very important nuance. We are making, you know, sometimes we confuse traders with entrepreneurs, you know, or businessmen with entrepreneurs. No, entrepreneurs are not driven by money. They have a fundamental passion or fundamental vision, you know, and they're trying to build it. You know, that's their, and as a side effect, they are doing money, sometimes a lot of money, but their driver is not money. Never.
Do you imagine yourself at a later stage donating your money?
100%. I don't want to die with money. It's stupid. Why? No, I for sure. No.
Wow. Okay. So money is more like a side effect of entrepreneurship.
Money is from my perspective, it's a instrument.
Yes.
Yes, it's an instrument. And that's it.
In order to achieve.
To build things. For me, to build things, to win time. For example, for me, money, one of the biggest impact that money has in one's life, it's freeing time for him. Winning time. But it's an instrument to build things, to do things. Yeah.
A lot of people are in pursuit of money, and when they have them, or they believe that when they have them, they will be the definition of success in a way. But what is your definition of success? When would you know in your life that you have made it?
I don't see things in this paradigm,
Yeah.
I'm not. I don't know exactly what success means. For me, it's something very abstract. What's success, and I think that a very simple definition of, from my perspective, trying to define success, it's having a life that you. I don't know if you like your life, if you like what you're doing, if you are
having fun.
It's a successful life.
Because
this is super
yes.
Because it's super complicated these days to have a fulfilling life. Super complicated.
Yes.
And I think if you have a fulfilling life, you are a successful person, no matter what you do.
Do you have a fulfilling life?
Yeah, super. Yeah, I like it a lot.
Good. You know what strikes me? So you started Trencadis and you were speaking about this big vision for the company, and then you pitched to the current president for your idea of his campaign, and you mentioned also I had a big vision for that. Now with Sessions, it's pretty similar.
It's a huge vision.
Where do you... This is something that we hear a lot, especially in Southeast Europe, that we have the skill set to be very good entrepreneurs, especially in tech. We have very good techies, but sometimes, especially when I speak about it with investors, they say, but often founders, they lack the ambition. They lack the ambition to build a global company. We have been seeing now the first examples that this is possible, also from Southeast Europe. Oh my God, for a big surprise, we now have unicorns. Why is it so innate to you to develop these big visions? Where is that coming from? Was it because you were reading all the books and the biographies of those, tech leaders?
Because first of all, because I think it's possible. I think it's possible. I think that by doing, when I was 14, I dreamt about this, but it was very far away,
Yes.
After a lot of years of experience, I realized that it's possible. It's possible to build big things. It's possible to build impactful things.
Yes.
And that's why, from having an idea of how society works, I'm confident that I can build big things. And if I have this confidence, why to build small things?
I think in the first place, it's difficult to develop.
At least I'm trying. Look,
it's first to have the vision, then you can work on the confidence. But coming up with the idea that you can build something global, that's actually impressive.
But look,
I love that about you.
It's not that complicated. It's not that complicated.
I guess you have to be inspired. You have to, had experiences or have been in a sort of environment that takes away the glass ceiling of your thinking. Yeah. And with that vision, you managed to convince actually one of the best investors, which are here in the region.
Yeah.
So, the other company that they invested in is UiPath.
Yeah.
And then it was you.
Yeah.
Very early on. You started the company just...
in 2020.
In 2020.
It was incorporated in in the summer of 2020.
When did you come up with the idea? Because what you're doing is pretty much related to the pandemics, right?
Look, it's super related with, it was triggered by the pandemic, you know. When the pandemic started, I realized that a major shift, a major paradigm change will happen, you know, but this was very early on. When I saw that people started to work from home and, you know, things were still moving, you know, it was possible. You know, until the pandemic, basically, we are not, although, and this is, I will try to explain it as simple as possible. Although we were having a lot of technology before the pandemic, you know, we are not using it efficiently, you know. This is the biggest shift in technology. You know, people realize that they can do things better by correctly using technology, you know, and this is still moving on. This is still evolving. Organizations are trying to optimize the way they operate through technology. And at the beginning of the pandemic, the story is super simple. When the lockdown was enforced, I had to organize a super complex board meeting in which we were deciding a lot of things for my ex-company. And I wanted to organize it by myself. And I realized it's what the fuck, it's so hard, you know, so many tools, you know, Zoom, okay, it's nice, but I have to prepare files, so I have to keep an agenda, I have to brief everybody, you know, hours of work to prepare something that could be done more easily, you know. You know, and I tried to find a solution that I was searching for a solution that could help me organize better and more efficient meetings, you know. Realized that there is nothing out there. Everything was plain and simple, you know. We are doing video conference. I mean, everything was super simple, and I realized this is a huge space.
It's not integrated.
Yeah.
Well, so you basically wanted to find a solution for yourself or build a solution for yourself.
Exactly. But this is with the e-government also, you know. I hate going to the state. I hate going. I hate it. You know, this is unnatural to have to stay in lines to pay your taxes.
By the way, this is also something that really pisses me off.
Yeah.
And the meetings as well.
No, everybody hates meetings, you know. And I realize, although this is the first level of, you know, my long-term vision is bigger than this. I want our end objective with sessions is to build the world's first cloud operating system for distributed teams. I think that there is a big problem in how our operating systems are working at this moment, at least at the organizational level. You know, we are wasting too much time exchanging files between each other. You know, everything is siloed, everything is super fragmented. You know, actually, we are wasting tens of hours per week only moving files and messages and things between us. You know, something is wrong with this. And what's our end game with sessions is to build a common context for a company in which to operate. You know, this is very far away still. We still have a lot of things to build in that direction. The meetings is the first side of the problem, you know, and actually it's crazy how much money it's wasted year by year on inefficient meetings, you know?
True.
I don't know if hundreds, but tens of billions of dollars every year on bad meetings, bad organized meetings, bad structured meetings.
But isn't that also valid for offline meetings? I mean,
yeah, of course.
I think we need to start thinking about time and meetings in a different way.
This is why we are proposing a new concept, you know, meeting, you know, the etymology of the word meeting comes from meet upon, you know, only to meet but without any scope, you know. And I realized that this is a conceptual problem, and this is why we are proposing let's don't do meetings anymore. Let's do sessions, you know, because sessions are focused, you know, sessions have structure, sessions have a time span, you know, by default, the concept itself comes with some some structure, you know. Let's ditch meetings, let's do sessions, you know.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's really good. Good. Okay, so you also have a sense for marketing, definitely. I must say. So this is definitely something that is much faster in development than e-government.
Yeah,
I mean,
totally.
And now you have the full space for it. And future of work has become a very relevant and a buzzword, and everyone is speaking about it. So yet again, you have a big vision for the future of work, actually. I'm thinking we still in the pandemics realized that the social interaction, the emotional component and the body language component of working together in the office, having meetings or sessions in the office is not really something that you can easily replace.
Yeah, that's true. So, I'm not a big believer in the full remote way of doing things. Yeah. I'm a big believer in the hybrid way of doing things. Yeah.
So the future of work will be hybrid.
Will be hybrid.
But what will be the role of the office then? If we're going to
the office will be a hub. You know, will be a place in which we are a much more flexible place. We will not have workstations as we had before the pandemics, everybody with his office, you know. It will be much more a space in which we meet, we socialize, we interact, but more flexibly, more dynamically. So it will be a place that will favor flexibility.
I also imagine that it will be also the place that in a way communicates the values of the company, that it's
exactly.
like home, but
exactly like a mix between home and a cafeteria, a coffee shop, and something like
much
this.
More interactive.
Much more interactive.
There is another buzzword that I'm going to throw: metaverse.
Please. Bullshit. Total.
But the space or the platform that you imagine is in a way, facilitating this full, seamless, frictionless digital virtual experience in a way.
Yeah.
So isn't that already no? Tell me.
This is one. I'm a strong opponent of the concept of metaverse. I think it's one of the most stupidest things that is happening in technology these days. And it all started because Zuckerberg tried to rethink its strategy. Nobody was doing the metaverse before Facebook rebranded to Meta. Nobody was doing metaverse. In my opinion, and this is the problem, in my opinion, technology has to be a support tool, a support instrument in helping us doing our job better. It's not something that we need to immerse in, Okay. It's not. This is why I think it's stupid. We don't need to teleport ourselves in another realm, to do our jobs. Okay. Technology in general, it's a instrument. It's something that enhance our capabilities, but we don't need to be immersed in technology. This is something that it's unnatural, It's unnatural, and this is why I don't think it will work. I mean, of course, the concept itself at some point, 200 years from now, maybe will be a very cool entertainment thing, You'll have the capability of, doing interesting things, but we are very, very far from that point. Technologically, my bet is that in 5 years from now, nobody will remember what the metaverse will be. Every project will fail. I mean,
So Zuckerberg is actually wasting his money now.
Zuckerberg has big problems. Facebook is dying. Facebook is dying. He needed another strategy and I think that he believes in this strategy. But he will fail.
Sometimes I'm thinking that maybe they're looking for new ways to sell us more advertising. This is what worries me.
Of course, this is what he's trying to do, but this is, I think this is obvious,
and then
you know.
they sell you the whole thing
Yeah.
with all the PR bullshit that, oh my God, it's going to be
And
like
no, it's super stupid, the whole thing.
Okay. Going back to your story. So in order for you to start sessions, you had to step down as a CEO and you had to give the power to someone else.
Yeah.
How hard was that?
Not very hard.
No?
It was a relief.
Yeah?
Yeah. Because I wanted to do sessions, you know. No, I'm not attached anymore to nothing, basically, you know. I have my objectives, I want to do them.
And how did you take off the control? You know, wanting to control. You know, you give it to someone and then they probably do stuff differently.
Yeah, totally different. This was the biggest issue. Finding somebody in which I would have the trust that he would do his job. I mean, this was my objective from day one, to find somebody who has the capabilities to run this without me being involved at all. You know.
How long was the process? Did you hire someone internally? Or
No.
Okay,
it was over 1 year. It was super complicated because in the same time I was doing session, it was the worst year of my life, you know, because I was trying to build something that I was super excited about. And in the same time I had to resolve the problem of moving Trencadis forward.
Wow.
It was super complicated, brutal actually.
Do you have some, I think most of our entrepreneurs in the community will come to that point when they want to do something else and they've built the company to a certain extent. Do you have some practical tips about the succession management?
Actually, no. I was so bad at it, you know.
Okay.
Yeah, no. It was super complicated. I don't have any practical tips.
You didn't learn how to do it better? No?
I think next time I will do it better, a little better.
What would you do differently?
But
sorry for if it's confidential, it's also okay.
It's not confidential. It's not confidential, but I don't have any well articulated answers on this because it was super chaotic. Yeah. It was super chaotic because we were in the same. You know, this was happening while trying to articulate the vision for sessions, trying to build the product for sessions. Doing actually, I never pitched VCs before sessions, you know.
Yes.
Another big problem, you know, I've done business 95% of my life in Romanian, you know. And I told you about this, you know. I'm still not super confident in English, you know. I'm still learning. I'm finding out how to express myself in English. And it was a crazy time, you know. I think even I'm not remembering everything, you know, it was so intense. And at the point I found the person in which I thought, oh, okay, this is the guy, you know.
This is the guy, okay.
I gave him full control, you know. We had a discussion, I pursued him for 2 months. And I remember that he took the decision in a Thursday, you know, he was, Radu, okay, I'm in, but I need full control. Okay, oh my God, of course. And the next day, I told him, you know, everybody said, okay, I move with this.
So I guess chaos in this kind of setting is actually good because he was exposed to dealing with the whole thing from day one.
It was, and he's an amazing guy. Yeah,
I hope that he will be listening.
Sorry?
I hope that he would be listening.
He knows this. I tell him, I think, every 1 week, you know.
Yes.
It's one of the most, he has he's in love with this field of e-government, you know. He has a super strong desire to fix the
field, yeah.
Yeah, the field. He's a super good manager. I'm not a good manager. I'm not a good manager. I'm a good entrepreneur.
What are you bad at? Tell me.
Management.
Which parts of management? Because today everyone is confusing management with leadership and, you know.
I'm a good leader. I'm not a good manager, you know.
What makes you bad at management? Tell me. You seem to be very honest, and this is why I'm asking you these tricky questions.
I am in general, you know, because it's complicated to be otherwise.
But maybe your investors will hear you, so be careful.
I don't care. If they trust me,
They do.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, I'm not the worst manager. I'm okayish.
Okay.
But I move things forward, but it's chaotic. It's a lot of chaos.
Where do you know are your blind spots, or where do you know is the thing that you're not good at? Which
I'm not good at a lot of things.
Yes.
I'm not good at a lot of things, but this is my secret, I'm always good at attracting good people to fill that gaps, and this is my thing, I don't have expertise, and I was saying this, I don't have expertise in a lot of fields, but I'm good at acquiring people that have good expertise at that field. And this is my secret, I cannot do nothing by myself. I always build teams. I think
this is one of the most important skills, actually, of an entrepreneur.
It is. It's
and it's not
fundamental.
About, it's not only about teams and employees. It's also about, the investors. And although maybe your English you're not confident in your English, I think you have a certain, I don't know, let me think of how to put it. Because you're very honest and you're very open, I think people actually trust you, and then they believe that what you're saying is the way that you truly feel about that.
Yeah,
and see it. And this is seldom. Do you have any kind of hacks of, understanding yourself, or kind of like coming to the point where you acknowledge your strengths, your deficits?
Yeah.
Do you practice in any way something?
Yeah. I've implementing something that changed my life, really. I'm in my 390 consecutive days, of meditation. I meditate every day, every single day. I work out every single day. I never start working after I get up, never start working. I have 2 or 3 hours in which I'm focused only on myself, Okay. And I'm like doing meditation, I'm doing journaling, where I basically, I'm dialoguing with myself, I'm working out every day. I think this is fundamental. This is fundamental to have a clear mind, to have a clear perspective on things. Yeah. The only thing I'm sorry is that I started this kind of late, but it's super helpful.
How long do you meditate a day?
At least 10 minutes.
At least 10 minutes.
At least 10 minutes, but every single day, no excuses.
How did you learn consistency? Were you a consistent person before?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I was consistent in some fields, but in others I wasn't,
Yeah.
I was super consistent in entrepreneurship, basically since I was 13, I'm doing this every single day. But I was not super careful on me, and after so many years, it's getting harder and harder. But I fixed this with all these new things that I'm doing since last year. And I'm doing it every single day.
Did you get to a point when you were, I don't know, maybe checking your health, physical, mentally, where you were thinking, okay, this is not going to go like this anymore?
Last year, because I had a very interesting way of working. I had periods of extremely high energy, and periods of extremely low energy, Yes. And I was okay, this is my way of doing things. But at some point, I realized that I cannot take this. I cannot do this anymore, that it's dangerous. I was burned out every 6 months, and I started to find solutions, and these were the solutions, I implemented this I call it the protocol,
The protocol.
The protocol, every single day. It's my religion,
But don't you feel guilty when you take time for yourself, that there is so much stuff on your backlog which you have to do? Because an entrepreneur,
nothing is more important than me. Nothing, if I'm not operational, if I'm not operational as a human being, I cannot do nothing,
Sure.
Yeah. So no, I had zero guilt.
No, I'm now having a normal conversation, but that's very interesting because I'm now at the verge when I'm planning to do the same thing.
Super important.
And
Super
actually
important.
block the days in my, in my work week where this is dedicated for that. I don't care about work or whatever.
Super
I'm going
important.
To just
I think
it.
it's mandatory, and literally my life changed. I told you I quit smoking. This is how I quit smoking with the protocol. I realized that because when you take control of your well-being, you start to see that, okay, the quality of the food that I'm eating, it's affecting the way my brain works. If I'm smoking 2 packs of cigarettes per day, maybe in 5 years I will die. You start realizing things and you start eliminating things from, it's super powerful, super powerful. You have to do it.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. It's inspirational in a way. So we're actually approaching now the end of our conversation, and I'm thinking, like, what is the topic that we should finish with? But so you have a big ambition for sessions, and at some point probably you will develop the next big ambition. And
I know what I will do after sessions.
You already
I know.
Do you have a big vision for your life? Like,
yeah.
If you have, sometimes I imagine myself at 90, looking back at my life, and I'm asking myself, what do you want to see there?
Yeah, I have. I know.
Would you tell me about it?
Yeah, of course. After I will finish with, I have a, besides entrepreneurship, I have very strong curiosities on how reality works, how literally how reality works. And one of my biggest interests, it's in the nature of information. What is information? How information flows in nature? How information builds up in nature? And after I will finish with session, also I have already built a framework. It's a theoretical framework on how it's called the information build-up framework. And after I will finish with sessions, I want to dedicate the rest of my life formalizing this theory. This is my scope, and I think that will be the most impactful thing I will do in my life. And all the entrepreneurial experience will help me to gather knowledge, on how to better build this framework, And this is my end goal: formalizing a theory on how information works in nature. This is my biggest goal, and this is what I will do. This is what I will do.
Wow.
Yeah, after finishing with sessions.
It's very abstract, but actually it's very. I'm sorry for using the word he stole it, but it's actually it's very meta, in a way.
It's meta.
How do you think it's going to improve life on the planet Earth? I would say. I wouldn't say for people, because I think when you speak about nature, the
nature of information.
Yeah.
It's super powerful, because you will be able to. There are a lot of things that are very hard to model, including economy, including, I think it's kind of complicated to explain at this point.
Probably.
But I think that it will have a strong impact in framing and modeling and measuring things that right now we are calling social things that we cannot measure, that are things that, yeah.
Are you going also in a direction of epigenetics?
Also, I think, information, this is another theory, very life, it's information. And epigenetics, it's a super interesting field, but I will not go that direction.
In any case, thank you for sharing. I will be following not only sessions, I will be following actually, because I'm very interested in what you just shared. I have a video
on this. I have a video on this subject, So I did,
send it to me.
yeah, because behind sessions, you know, one of the, I'm not talking about this because I tried at the beginning of sessions to explain my framework, you know, and people, oh my God, what the fuck are you doing? So I have but the engine behind sessions is driven by this theoretical framework, you know, because fundamentally, I think that one of the biggest problems in business is the way information builds up in organizations, you know. Mm-hmm. It's a lot of chaos in how we build up information in organizations. And this is one of the practical applicabilities of the framework. And already we have a form of this framework. I also have a video. I will send it.
Please, and maybe if it's okay, we can also somehow connect it to the comments.
Yeah.
But I totally relate to you. When I wanted to name my company the Recursive, and I was trying to explain to people why, they were like, "Oh, that's too complicated." No one in the team wanted it.
Yeah.
But I have affinity for abstract ideas. I would be very curious to.
Cool. I will send it. Super.
Radu, that was a very cool conversation.
Same here.
Thank you.
It was a pleasure.
So for the first podcast that you had and for the vision that you have, I think at some point it's going to be very, very valuable that we had this conversation here. I'm very optimistic about your future.
Thank you very much.
Next on the Recursive podcast, we meet with scientist and entrepreneur Petr Tsankov, co-founder of AI company Latticeflow.
Yeah, so ethical aspects, I mean, there's of course a lot of talking about safety, bias of the models, and there's some extreme uses of AI, which I think should be regulated, and there will be. So here we're talking about, for example, mass surveillance of individuals with AI, because it's just a very powerful technology. So you could literally just track people and, you know, compute all kinds of social scores. You know, that sound really, really scary. If you have this, and just AI can enable you to implement this, like, for real.
And if you're just as passionate about innovation as we are, hit subscribe for the Recursive podcast on YouTube or your favorite podcast platform. We're everywhere.